Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk everything animation here, including Rick and Morty, which we'll be getting into right now. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Delaney Stovall.
Hey, y'all.
And Michelle Anderer.
Hello.
We are talking the back half of Season 4 of Rick and Morty, episodes 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 that have been airing these last 5 weeks. We had a podcast just on episode 6, Never Rick and Morty, and we've not checked in since then, so we'll talk about all of the rest of the season and a little bit about Season 4 in general. Now that the season finale of 4 just aired last night on Adult Swim, and it's some interesting things to talk about with Rick and Morty. So make sure you've seen all of Season 4. Because we'll be getting into full spoilers right away for all of Season 4 of Rick and Morty, including the big season finale, which they're actually spoilers for. So I would make sure you've seen that one. And then come back and make sure you're subscribed to Overly Animated Rick and Morty. Search for that. YouTube is our YouTube is youtube.com/overlyanimated. So a lot to hit on, I think, with 5 episodes of Rick and Morty. We're used to talking about the show one episode at a time, so we'll see how this goes. But I think the big thing is, like, we just got a big plot episode with Star Mort Return of the Jerry, which is the season finale. And I think we have some big plot things to talk about. But Delaney, did you have reactions to any of these big plot movements that happened in the finale?
It's I think they were like unexpected, but I mainly because they made fun of them in Never Rick and Morty. And then they were like, we're going to do it anyway. So yeah. I appreciated that. And it was really good. Yeah, no, I definitely wasn't expecting, I don't even know, Clone Beth, whatever, they're both Beth at this point. Yes. But I definitely reacted to Clone Beth and everything that happened. I thought it was awesome. And I think everything that happened in the Star Mort Return of the Jerry was like the best. I really enjoyed that episode. And it's literally Star Wars, so I'm about it.
Yeah, they're talking about doing a Star Wars, so you were about that.
Great. Okay. I was about that. And then I definitely Tammy, OMG. They just killed Tammy in the first 5 minutes of the episode. And then they were like, yep, she dead, okay. And then because it was crazy. Because it was Tammy and Bird Purse, it was crazy. Excuse me, Phoenix person. Yeah, all of it was just crazy because they were like, we're not doing it, and they're like, haha, JK, we're doing it. So I really enjoyed it. I thought that was really funny.
Nice. Michelle, what were your finale reactions?
I was really hoping we would see Space. I mean, I'll call her Space Beth now because we don't know which is the first one anymore. Not that it matters.
Rebel Leader Beth.
Yeah, Rebel Leader Beth. Their scar in her face and her hair. I was so on board. I was like, oh my god, finally. This is the one thing I'd wanted all season. We finally got it. And that was really exciting. I do think it felt a little weird getting so much plot this episode when we had so little plot the majority of this season. Mm-hmm. And I do wonder a little about the pacing of that. It also feels like even though we kind of got reconciliation with the clone question, and I really liked how that was handled, and we sort of have Phoenix person dangling as maybe a thing that'll happen later. Tammy's dead, so yeah. Even though a lot happened, it also felt like there wasn't a lot to really have an expectation for moving forward into the later seasons, which again can feel nice, but at this point I'm also feeling a little but how long are we going to stay in this stasis? I want us to have something else that's exciting and new to hold on to, even if we only go back to it every 12 episodes. I want something, And I didn't expect to feel that way, but I kind of do looking back on the whole season now that we know how it played out. So I'm a little mixed. I did really enjoy the finale, but it was not my favorite episode. It was maybe my third or fourth, honestly, for the season, just based off of the pacing and the priorities of just so much plot, but then it didn't really matter a lot, which is fine, but it wasn't my favorite thing.
Okay. I think that's fair. I mean, third or fourth, if you're talking all of season 4, I think that's pretty good still. I think a big topic we're going to talk about is season 4, 9 episodes of complete no serialization, and then we get all the plot at the end. So we want to talk about, like, do we like that for the show? But in terms of wanting something substantial moving forward, I'd echo that, because if this episode is just like, oh, they bring Tammy back, she dies, you bring Phoenix Person, and then he's like lurking for whenever they want to bring him back in 20 episodes, then it's just going to feel like another non-serialized episode. But I think the big thing for me is Clone Beth. Space Beth.
Oh, yeah.
You know? So she's around. That's the thing I'm excited for too. There's 2 Beths setting in the next season. Like, what's that about? There might just be 2 Beths all of next season.
And it's super cool because the kids are like, we got 2 moms.
Yeah, everyone's hype about it.
How excited they are to have 2 moms.
And then they mess with Rick. Like, that was really good.
Yeah. And Rick's not feeling it at the end, but
Rick is not doing great.
Yeah, which I think is a through line for part of the season. But yeah, no, I think that's the actual serialization is there as of now. We could go season 5, episode 1. They could say, "Oh, where's other Beth? Oh, she's in space." Like, they could just not have her be around, and they could just do one line to explain it. But as far as we know right now, there's going to be 2 Beths. Like, that's how he ended the last episode, and I think that's super exciting. That's a big plot movement, and that this was like one of the top things I was looking forward to seeing. And you just instantly bring her back this episode. It's super exciting. So I'm super about kind of how we handled everything surrounding Clone Beth this episode. And yeah, I think it's interesting to think about all the plot being at the end, but it was just extremely exciting seeing all these elements come back after so long of them not being there. But then I think the big thing is, like, episode 6 acts as a precursor to all this, in that we talked about how it like establishes, like, we don't need to do anything here, but we could. And also it doesn't matter. So you set up kind of that thesis statement in episode 6. And now we, like we're talking about, like, they could bring all these things back, and they do, like, pretty quickly after. So I think that kind of reinforces this overarching theory of the show, which is put forth earlier in the season. And I think that feels really good to me too, that, like, the show doesn't care about anything, but it also isn't afraid to do, it also will do something sometimes. We did get it at the end here. And Child Rick of Mort, like, we're talking about, it's not serialized, but Child Rick of Mort does have a thematic lead-in. I think in retrospect, like, it seems very purposeful to have a big Rick and Beth plotline leading up to this one. Yeah. So I think there's a lot. I mean, the first 5 episodes, I think, of the season seemed pretty aimless. Not that they were bad. I think there's multiple gems in there, but this season, you look at 6 to 9 to 10, that's a pretty solid arc of episodes. If not, like, literally plot serialization, kind of themes of the show and of Beth and of, and then Rick, you could see, like, the toilet episode into the last episode. For sure. Yeah, so I think, like, in retrospect, there's more to the season. There are more threads being laid within the season than we kind of understood at the time. And so I think 10 does a good job of tying it all together. I think it's a great episode. I think probably ultimately not my favorite of the season, but there's so much good stuff in there. Tammy, we've been waiting for Tammy to come back, and I was very excited to see her come back, and then she's dead, which Rip. I'm upset about, but I also like that they're closing the arc there, so we don't have to be waiting for this to happen next time. And I think, like, Phoenix Person, like Rick, like, holding him, is probably a good way of having that arc kind of be closed, but still, like, he can pop up when they want it to. So I think all that, because all that wasn't really, like, the real plot threads that were open were Clone Beth and Evil Morty. The rest of the stuff is not things that they needed to do, I think. So we do the main thing is Clone Beth here, and we have that be like the main core of the episode and still lead into next season. It's saving its main material in terms of plot with Evil Morty. And as we know, the show ultimately doesn't care about that, but it is the main thing it has in the reserves. And so you still have Clone Beth active heading next season. You still have the anticipation of Evil Morty. You close out kind of these lower plot threads from before. And I feel like we're in a pretty good place, at least in terms of the plot of the show.
I guess. I think the thing is, like, initially I really liked the idea going to this season that, yeah, they don't have any, like, they can do what they want. They can or can't address plot, and the freedom there of only bringing it back when they felt like they wanted to do something with it was initially, like, I thought, a very nice kind of divorcing yourself from the expectations of your fandom, which, like, to make the stuff you want to make, you kind of have to do. But I felt like Phoenix Person and Tammy, like, if they wanted to close the chapter, it also just felt like they didn't really amount to anything significant in this episode. And that's what my new concern is, kind of like, yeah, you can just bring things back every once in a while, but I don't necessarily have a guarantee that it's going to be worth, like, the wait. Not that there are any expectations, but just, like, I mean, if season 3 hadn't existed and been so good at some of this stuff before, I wouldn't have been so hopeful. And I tried to taper those expectations a lot. But I think, like, yeah, there is bringing things back when you want to, but are you going to stick the landing when you finally decide to bring these things back? And I'm not quite sure that in the case of these, like, lesser plot threads that really happened. And even if they weren't a priority and they were more of a B plot, it's still kind of like, I don't know if it necessarily bodes well for bigger things like Evil Morty to come, which I am very invested in as a plot thing. So that's, like, my reservation right now. Like, again, we don't know what's going to happen, but I mean, I felt a little underwhelmed, like, these chapters are closed now, and they might not be very interesting if they do rise again. And that's, like, a little bit of a concern.
Well, I think that's kind of the point. Like, I mean, you also have to think, like, what were they going to do with Tammy and Bird Person? Like,
they're going to do anything they wanted.
But that's the thing, though. We had, like, because I was really satisfied with, so, like, because it also depends on, like, what you're looking for when we talk about plot with Rick and Morty. Because, like, we have plot, like, Space Beth, awesome. One, it's cool, but also the ramifications for Rick and Morty and the family. Like, and I think that's really, like, there is plot in the universe, but, like, it's not as interesting, like, the mythology versus, like, the impacts it has on the family dynamic. Because, when they got divorced and Jerry was out of the picture, like, that really shook things up. And then now we have Space Beth. So, like, I think it's more, like, everything is always a vehicle for, like, Rick and Morty and, like, what happens to the family. So, like, we're kind of, not that we're full circle, but, we're back at that place. Rick is still super depressed. His best friend tried to kill him. And, there's a lot going on. And I think, like, this is probably the best payoff for Tammy and Bird Person. Because, one, Bird Person isn't gone. That's cool because, like, we love Bird Person. Bird Person's great. And so I think that's one thing, like, I'm very invested in Evil Morty. Like, I'm really excited about it. But I thought, like, I think this is kind of what, like, they were talking about with, it isn't just, we can bring stuff back whenever we want, but, like, stuff's not as important as you think it is. And then, like, they can, like, tie in whatever they want. So I'm actually really satisfied. Like, I feel like they delivered on what they're talking about. Like, we're going to do whatever we want, but, these things are still important, but also, like, lampooning all of it. Like, Never Rick and Morty. We literally saw basically everything that happened in this episode in Never Rick and Morty. Like, we saw Tammy, we saw Phoenix Person, and they were like, nah, fam. And then it was like, JK, here they are. So I think it's really neat. And good, also, of course, it's, completely valid that you're like, I didn't like it. Like, it's fine.
I mean, I do think, like, seeing it from, like, everything affecting the family as being the most impactful, absolutely.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, what are we looking? And that's the thing. It's plot. Like, plot in Rick and Morty is weird because, like, there's ramifications for the universe and the mythology of the show. But then it's like, is that really what's as interesting as, like, I feel like the season we have some actual really frank and good conversations between, like, Rick and Morty and Summer and Morty. Like, that was actually my favorite part of the episode, is Summer and Morty being like, this is our arc. And they're like,
it was really cute.
That was, like, my favorite part of the episode.
Yeah, I love Morty and Summer in the episode. But yeah, I think this discussion's really good. I think if you're someone who's anticipating Evil Morty, who has a lot of investment in that, and I think that is me / was me, because I think the season to a certain extent convinced me not to care about that, like at least as much as I was before.
Yeah, I think that's what it's kind
Which
of
is kind of what it's going for, but it's also a little depressing. But
it's like the whole season's about tapering your expectations, which like I kind of understood going in after the first couple, but like it really hit home now that like this is the end of the season, and now it's just like I am still trying to taper my expectations, I guess, for what's going to come later.
Well, it sucks because like we know they do plot really well. Like some of the plot episodes are some of the best episodes in the show. So it sucks. So I think it's one of those like we'll just have to see where we go. And so I think that's also part of the point of this season is that not that it's the reset season, though it kind of is, but So I'm really excited about it, and I really enjoyed all the Tammy and Bird Person stuff, but it also depends, and that's what they're talking about. They're like, we're gonna do whatever we want.
Yeah, look, I think if you're really anticipating the return of Tammy and Bird Person, Phoenix Person in this episode, then I could see this being.
Tammy.
I mean, I do love Tammy, and
love Tammy.
I was invested in like a Tammy twist, not necessarily like a straight up her coming back like this. So I think like this episode isn't this big payoff for Tammy and Bird Person, and this episode is like, oh yeah, they're things. But I think so. On one hand, if Evil Morty goes the route of maybe Tammy and Bird Person, then that might be underwhelming. However, I think the Clone Beth stuff, I feel like that lived up in terms of at least this episode.
Yeah, it did. It super did.
So maybe honestly, like they go the road of Clone Beth for Evil Morty, and then maybe that's I feel like if they care about something, the other side of it is this season hasn't been incredible for Beth until these last two episodes. She hasn't been super visible.
Same thing for Summer.
Summer has been less visible than last season.
So like I don't want to talk about Jerry. He sucks.
I will say like the best thing about Jerry this episode was his master puppeteering. Like legit, like that got me. It was pretty funny.
Jerry's arc paying off with the puppet, and then he gets the stinger of the
the garbage adventure stinger. That was good too.
Okay, this wasn't where I was going, but Jerry in season 4. By far the best supporting character.
Oh yes.
Hands
down.
This season, I feel like they have mastered how to use Jerry. This season, in this episode, he was amazing. He had the one episode where he's beekeeping, and then they have the stinger about how he's
the
so
stinger
fuckable.
Beekeeping was so funny.
Yeah, him just randomly beekeeping. Like I think the therapy puppet was good in this episode too. The season starts with him being like anime and like that. The use of Jerry, they've sparingly, I think, basically except for Childrick of Mort, where he had a whole B plot, which was very Jerry, and I think the concept of it was very Jerry. But other than that, they've been like pretty restrained and like they pick their spots in really funny ways with Jerry. I feel like I trust the show with Jerry so much after this season, like. He's really like he's probably the funniest character on the show at this point.
Well, it's like I hate Jerry, but they play him so well because like he sucks, and the show just like he sucks. Here's some
that's
sucking.
the whole part.
Whole
point of his
it's
character.
So good.
Yeah.
And Dylan's right that like it definitely has been sparing because in earlier seasons I do remember feeling like God, there's just so much Jerry, and I like fucking hate seeing more of him. Like, don't give me this much.
I know,
but now now it's just a sprinkling. It feels like the perfect amount. They really have honed in on,
and then they
the
let
best
everyone.
use of him.
And
shit on him.
Shit on him. Yes, like Summer
so
shitting on Jerry was like the best.
I know. Oh my god.
Yeah. Also,
and
that
even
moment when Michelle and I remember we can curse on this pod. It's great.
Oh yeah,
beautiful
hooray.
moment.
Yeah, you could do it. Yeah, I think so. I think you might be tempted to say. I mean, I think a lot of people would say that probably season 4 not as good as earlier Rick and Morty. Maybe the show isn't as good as it was. We'll get to whether we think that, but think if you think of it in terms of characters, Jerry's way better than he ever has been. I think their use of Beth with Clone Beth. I think this is way more interesting things we've ever used Beth before. Some are probably not as good as season 3. But Rick and Morty themselves, I feel like they're dynamic. They really know what to play on now. They've done a few of these, Rick is like mind fucks Morty at the end of the episode type episodes, which I think those are really successful. And then their bitter, like bickering dynamic. And then also like
it's getting worse. Like Morty's getting more and more fed up with Rick. Like I think that's something that's definitely started paying off actively in the season.
Yeah, I agree. And then, but they also have some sweet moments too. So I feel like the use of most of the characters is as good as it's ever been. So maybe that's the argument for the show being not having lost a step.
Well, that's also, I think, kind of a shift, like kind of what we're talking about with like, what were you looking for with these big payoffs? Like, the family dynamic versus like big sci-fi bullshit. Like we get both, but like, I'm here for like the stupid family dynamic. So like, I thought it really paid off like in these episodes.
Yeah. So overall, though, like the season 3 finale said, to close out this topic of like this, how the use of where the show is this season. Season 3 finale said, in many ways, things will be like season 1, but more streamlined. So that was kind of what their thesis statement was for the season. I feel like for 9 episodes, that was exactly what they were doing. And then episode 10, we throw in all the plot. So like, what do we think of this formula where now the show, and I think this is my read is this is where we're doing moving forward, which is like, we're not going to have serialization over the course of several episodes in a season, but an episode or 2 a season will have like, that will be like this episode. And maybe it's every finale. Maybe we're actually doing more significant finales now with the show, or maybe premieres. But for the most part, it's going to be like the rest of the season where everything is just one-offs.
I'm about it.
So you like where they've ended up, Delaney, with the structure of the show.
Well, I mean, in context of like one, I really enjoyed all these episodes. And then on top of that, like, we have to remember in context of like, maybe if we were only getting 10 seasons, I'd be like, are we stalling out a little bit? Like, hitting the middle. But like in context of there's 100 episodes of Rick and Morty, I think this is a good way to go.
It's like a sustainable format for them.
Yeah, a sustainable format. And again, I'm not 100% sure this is really going to be a quote unquote format because again, they do whatever the hell they want.
They might change that. We don't really know.
Like,
that's what I suspect.
Like I do I think like I just enjoyed this season, and I do think the mix of plot and like quote unquote season 1 stuff. But like this is just what Rick and Morty is. Like I'm content.
You're content. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, Michelle, what do you think of like looking back on the structure of the season?
I mean, I kind of feel like Delaney in that like I don't 100% trust that this format's not going to get broken at some point, just because for up till this point, and we've talked about this before, that every season they've just been building, hoping to get a green light for another season, which is how normal shows work. And you have different priorities when you never know if it's going to be your last show. But now that they have this guarantee of such a bulk of episodes, which again is not normal, I feel like this season definitely was them trying to reshift their priorities in a major way. That isn't to say that like now that they have like readjusted their expectations for the rest of the show, that it might not still evolve naturally the way the first 3 seasons did. I mean, I'm like curious. Like I don't think it's a given that season 5 is going to follow the same exact structure as season 4. There could be even less plot. There could be no plot.
There could be have less plot than the first 9 episodes.
Like, really, it is up to them. But I do think that like they're going to evolve like any team of creatives do, and they're going to have things they want to talk about. And so I don't know. I'm going to take it kind of at face value for the next couple seasons and just see if there are any like themes or trends that I can notice. But at this point, like, I don't know. I feel like this is just like, the cement foundation of the new house of the show. So it's important to like, get everyone's expectations now on the same page about where the rest of this could be going. But I don't necessarily want to hold them to that because I feel like they've already restructured it once, So they're capable of doing it more times as they see fit. So I'm cautiously optimistic that many things could happen.
Yeah. And it's definitely fair that it's like, though they could change things again. I do have some backing with like, at least next season seems like it'll be similar to this season. They wrote them pretty closely together. Like, I don't think we'll wait.
Did they?
I don't think we'll wait very long for season 5. The writing's done already. Like, this might be the first season that we don't have to wait a year and a half for. So they might have finally learned their lessons. It took a while to get this season.
Most shocking revelation.
No, I recommend listening to the companion podcast that they've been doing on Monday nights on AdultSwim.com. It's a lot, and there's I think one of the writers talked about this finale and then next season's finale, kind of like some distinction between them. So maybe maybe there's some reason to believe that there's another big finale coming next season. But it could, in season 6, who knows? And who knows if that's even true of season 5. And now I'm really curious if Clone Beth is just hanging around all next season. Is that the new normal, or is she just like not really gonna pop? I would assume that she is more likely to not be there most of the time than be there. But I really would be interested if she was just there a lot. But yeah, I mean, you look back on the season and things do come together better than maybe initially seemed like. In terms of like just having way more one-off episodes than normal, which the show has mostly been one-off episodes. Like the plot of the show is like pretty condensed to like the season 2 finale, the season 3 premiere, like very few episodes have actual like what we'd consider plot. But I think these episodes have seemed even more isolated and to a certain extent meaningless, which I think episode 6 addressed. And I really love what episode 6 talked about. I think the show should check in on kind of a meta commentary on what it is regularly, like that episode was doing. I think that would be beneficial to the show because you could so easily lose itself over the course of 70 episodes to come. I guess we're like 60 more episodes now, so not like I mean
crazy.
That's still a crazy number, but I think like just having this plot episode at the end, I think they succeeded with this. I think this was a good episode, and I think they managed to have all these random plot elements pretty tongue-in-cheek. Like, it didn't take itself super seriously, but it still legitimized what was happening. So I really liked that at the end. I still think this last episode feels different than the first 9. I don't know if they've gotten the tone right of it. Like, I don't know I don't know what the word is. I'm trying to think of the word, like tacky. Is it like a little bit, it feels like a little bit at times, I think, less, high IQ like the rest of the show, if you might say.
Did you just,
why would you say that, Dylan?
When you're talking about Rick and Morty, you have to acknowledge our high IQ to be able to analyze the show.
God.
But you got to keep doing with those jokes. That's the primary.
It's true. You're not wrong.
Keep dealing with it. So, I think like 10 was like a pretty big success for me, but like not like I want them to refine if they're doing like these like every 8 to 10 episodes do a plot episode, like refine it a little bit more. And then in terms of the rest of the 9, I mean, there's a lot of good episodes here. I think there's maybe not all-time great episode in season 4. That's the worst thing I can say about season 4. I don't really think there's an all-time great episode, but most of the episodes are very good in this season. There's 2 episodes which I think aren't very good, and that's too high of a number for me, so I'm a little worried. But 2 out of 10's a lot, I guess, when you only get 10 episodes. But also, like, if episodes aren't coming every year and a half, that's not as big of a deal, I think. Yeah, I think the structure, it feels better now looking back on the season. But I would like them to not be afraid to bring in elements like next season if they want Clone Beth to pop up a lot. Like, we don't have to go back to the season 1 but more streamlined formula. Like, we don't have to stick to that so adherently. Like, if something naturally fits and they think that there could be a lot of mileage that they could get out of having 2 Beths around, then do it. And then if it works, make it a regular thing of the show. Or if it doesn't work, put her back into space. You can, like, I don't want them to so ardently stick to having most episodes be one-offs. That would be my biggest concern, I guess. But I think we're in a pretty good place. Or what do we think of? Well, okay, let's start smaller and then start to go larger, because we haven't gotten takes on a lot of these episodes. But you still, like, Delaney, looking back on these 5, 6 to 10, how much did you enjoy these episodes? Maybe compared to the first half of the season, maybe compared to normal Rick and Morty.
I really enjoyed all of them. I thought they were all really funny. I thought they were really, like, good. I'll be honest, it's hard to remember the first like 5 episodes. I'll have to like try.
When we talk about the whole season, I can recap which each episode was. But yeah,
because I'm like, what? But I think my favorite is the Vat of Acid episode.
Yes.
So
and I actually think the Vat of Acid episode is one of the best episodes of Rick and Morty. Like,
okay, let's get your. This is also on that. Get your 15-second takes on each episode. Episode 7, Primordius, the alien one.
Okay, Primordius is amazing because, like, I love the format of this episode because
non-linear storytelling.
It's non-linear, and then Summer's Queen. I'm sorry, it was great. Like, and also just the moment where there's there, and they're like, "Yeah, we're Summer," and they were like, "What fuck. Like, it was like The Hangover. They were like, shit, where is she?
Yeah, very hangover like, yeah.
And they're like, we never go back. Like, I just every gag and like then they turn into like Voltron Power Rangers. Like, I completely enjoyed like everything in that episode. Like, it was just so funny. And then you had like when they were like, how did you know that last part about Bruce and Steve? It was so good. I really enjoyed it. And then the Vat of Acid episode is genius. I mean, like, genius. It's so, the entire episode is just Rick getting revenge on Morty. Like, that moment when he's like, oh no, what should you do? And he's like, God damn it. Like, I'm sorry. That is like, that speaks to me as someone who comes from a family where we just give each other shit all the time. Like, that is just the most amazing thing. Like, that. Also, the episode itself, like, I mean, the sequence where Morty falls in love was amazing. I got sad. I was like, fuck this show. I was like, you suck. Like, it was genius. I mean, like, pure genius. I enjoyed that's the Vat of Acid. He's like, he's like, kiss the vat. It's so good. Like, everything about it, perfect. And then Child Rick of More is just good Beth and Rick stuff. And he fucked the planet. That's great. The stinger is so funny. Like, the stinger. So
you like the planets only? Okay.
That's hilarious. Like, you just kept going on and on.
And even put lips on a planet. How could you not love that?
And my favorites are they're young, hot, and dumb. Like, it's so funny. Like, it's so funny. They're planets. And then the best part is Summer being like, I've been watching over your shoulder for a full minute. It's so good. Just, I really like, and I just thought that was like, and also the unproductive tube, and then Jerry gets stuck in it. So good. Like, what more could you ask for? And then he fights God. So good. And also just the getting high and playing video games, and Rick's like, I love y'all. It's so good. Yeah, getting high and playing video games is awesome. So good.
Like, trying to apologize. He's like, no, I love this. You're perfect.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good, guys. And then Starmort Return of the Jerry is just great. Like, the entire finale is awesome. I already talked about, I love Morty and Summer being like, this is our arc, and the invisibility belt. And also that was like extreme sibling nonsense, which as the elder sister to a younger brother, it's like intense, like having this fight over the PlayStation, but it was an invisibility belt. And then when she breaks the goggles, so good.
Yeah, sad. Yeah, okay. So Delaney, a fan of these five and a fan of most of these episodes too. That's good. And I think, like, looking back, 6, you were a big fan of that one as well.
Oh yeah, and I watched them all together. Like, so that might have changed. Like, I did watch 7 through 10. Like, I mean, like, right after each other.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Michelle I remember wasn't as high on 6 and isn't as high on 10, I think, as Delaney. So what about the other 3, Michelle?
I mean, Vat of Acid definitely stole the show. It is, like, as Delaney said, like, it's just such a good payoff of, like, Morty being so genuinely upset that it didn't work, and then, like, it having to pay off where he has to smooch it because Rick is just that petty, which of course he is. It's just amazing. And then, like, the stinger's so good with the guy who thinks he's impervious to acid, and he goes on the show and just dies. It's amazing. I think Child Rick of More and Primordius, like, I both enjoyed, like, chunks of them, but, like, I wasn't, like, riding the entire episode on this, like, wonderful whirlwind of excitement, which is what the top Rick and Morty episodes always do to me, in my opinion. Honestly, I feel like I resonated more with a lot of the first half of the season. Like, that's where a lot of my favorites are. Like, that's where Cuckoo's Morty is. That's where the old man
what's your best of the season overall?
Oh, that's so hard. I think it honestly, like, I'll just say, in season 3, when Pickle Rick happened, I was like, God damn it. He said it like 3 times in the episode. Of course, this is going to be a fucking thing. And they started making Pickle Ricks and shit and selling it. And then all these, like, teenage boys would just scream, I'm Pickle Rick. And I was like, God damn it. Like, the line that should be, like, the most iconic is, you son of a bitch, I'm in, because that's infinitely funnier and better.
Well, that's the thing this season.
That's what got me. Like, that's what resonated with me.
You're still on the heist episode as the best.
I mean, I will never not forget Snake Jazz from Rattlestar Galactica. Also, like Old Man of the Sea, Cuckoo's Morty, and Rattlestar Galactica are, like, all, like, my top tier. Like, they're so funny, and they all
the
go,
heist episode is art.
it's art, and that's what I'm saying. Like, to me, like the episodes that are like my favorite, they're ones that like they are just nonstop in like their absurdity or their clever lines, or just like going way too far into riffing on one very specific genre of something, and it's so good, and it's just like you appreciate all of it as like a fully combined thing. Whereas I feel like a lot of other Rick and Morty episodes are still like great, but like there'll be moments that kind of like taper off, and you might like come out of it and be like, oh, okay, this is a little slower. Like, oh, it wasn't that funny. But the best ones like carry you through the entire way, and it's just like a rush. It's so good. So like Vat of Acid to me was definitely the standout of the back half of the season. I feel like in terms of just like character stuff and like all around, I feel like episode 10, it does give you a lot of that. Like it does a lot, just like, you know, having a satisfying conclusion-ish question mark to the Beth clone situation. Like I thought that was really well handled, all things considered. But like Childrick of More and Primordius and Never Rick and Morty, like I think they're all like good, solid episodes, but not necessarily like ones I'm going to go back and rewatch for fun. Like, on a weekend or something, you know what I mean?
On a weekend, yeah. I feel you. So you're more into the first half of the season.
It's just like it's reveling in its like ridiculous ideas in a way that
I was thinking about like what was the episode in the back half that does that escalating bullshit like a lot of these first.
I think
I think Never Rick and Morty is the one that kind of escalates like that. But it's a little different.
It's a little, I don't know.
But no, the rest of the episodes don't really do that, I would say, yeah.
I don't know, the Vat of Acid episode is
Morty, like, I know you really liked it, Dylan, but to me, it reminded me too much of, like...
I'm just talking about the structure, not in terms of quality.
That, like, it felt like there were, like, callbacks to ideas we've seen in previous seasons, so it wasn't as strong to me as things that felt totally out of left field, like just the Snake Planet. Like, that was, like, a pretty new idea for Rick and Morty, and so I was, like, 100% into that.
Yeah, it's a new idea. Yeah. Yeah, it's self-referential in a way, I guess, that the other episodes aren't. And, yeah. Which episode do they talk about Pickle Rick? I'm trying to remember. It's one of these 5. But yeah, like we also, I think one thing this season
it's definitely, I think it's during the Vat of Acid because he's like, I was a fucking pickle, like, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it was Vat of Acid.
Oh, he's talking about his ideas. Yeah. I think this season is more referential to previous Rick and Morty. Like we're more willing to. We talked about this, I think, in the first time. We're more willing
they start
to
watching Interdimension or Cable, and they're like, "Do you suffer from Alzheimer's? Do you suffer from Alzheimer's?"
Yeah,
oh my god, that was terrible.
Yeah, we're more willing to bring elements back, and we're willing to talk about past episodes. As we know, I loved 6. Primordius, I think that's a solid episode. I really like exploring the nonlinear episode structure. I think, I like Michelle. I think it's a solid episode. Rick and Morty is very funny at times. I'm also in love with the Vat of Acid episode. I've been talking about this episode since this came out. This is, I think it's the best of the season. I echo Michelle's, 2, 4, and 5 being, or 2, 3, and 5 being great in the first half. But I think, and this episode in some ways isn't as solid as some other episodes. It's just the highs for me are like really, like this is, Rick and Morty at its, I don't want to say smartest, like, but it's, in some ways, yeah, but it just best storytelling. The 5-minute, segment of Morty meeting his, girlfriend who he then is not together with is one of my storytelling highlights of the year. It's so affecting
goes back at the
and
end
brilliant.
when he goes into the vat.
Yeah.
I know.
And if he just waited a little longer, that part's incredible. The whole beginning with the vat ends up being, it really convinces you on it. It's such a stupid, amazing, concept. And then, it does turn into much like the heist episode. Rick was pulling one over on Morty and everything with that is funny too. And then Morty at the end having to confront the vat and the combined universes, I think is hilarious. I think vat is just such a highlight for me. It's like the best of the season. I'm open to this being one of the best of the show. I think it doesn't feel as polished as some of the best episodes of Rick and Morty. I'm not as into the stinger and as into like the acid guy. Like I feel like there's some random stuff in there. I think it definitely stands out on the back half. It does something different, I think, than a lot of the first half episodes too. And I don't know. I feel like just watching that, you like, this show still has it. Like, of course it doesn't. It's such
This show still has it.
it's such a clever, amazing episode. Like it's very Rick and Morty, that episode. And then I'm not into Children of Mort. This is one of the two I referenced not being good. So I think there's funny stuff.
I wonder what the other one could possibly
it's the dragons,
be. Is it Slut Dragons?
It's Slut Dragons. Is the other one.
I like
This-
block Slut Dragons from my mind.
This is better than Slut Dragons. I'll say that. But no, I think
to be fair, the bar.
That is like so smart, and this is like such a standard episode, I think, in a lot of ways. And there's some funny stuff in here, but and it's solid, and there is some, but it's also a little basic. I feel like that would be my analysis of Children. And then the last episode, I think last episode's really funny. We talked about it. I want to highlight the Wranglers jeans sponsorship
Wrangler
Death
jeans.
Star.
So good.
And then they okay, my favorite line of the episode is Beth being like, "Look, Morty, your little balls."
Yeah, that's a good line.
But no, and they just
Morty's
take
so
his
happy
jeans. It's
about
so
it.
good.
Yeah, no,
Jeans.
just the concept of the Death Star being sponsored by Wrangler jeans, and that you can just throw the jeans in to stop it. I think the show has evolved with the times in terms of it's been a lot sharper satirization of capitalism. This is an amazing sci-fi capitalism satire with the Wrangler jeans sponsored Death Star, and then of course Rick had his capitalism rants at the end of episode 6 too. I think that's an element that stood out to me too, looking back on
That was a really good rant. I appreciated that.
It was a good
rant.
rant. The Wrangler jeans, and then it can't destroy the Wrangler jeans.
Yeah, that's like my highlight of the episode. I also love.
And
Morty
every
and
time they
Summer
have to
talk
say the
about-
name, and they're like sponsored by Wrangler. So good.
It seems like it's a stupid throwaway commercial, but it really is essential to the episode. So I think this back half ends up being strong. I might prefer the first half. I think the highlight episodes of the season: Old Man in the Seat, Cruise Morty, Rattlestar Rick Lactica. For me, Never Ending, Never Rick and Morty, Vat of Acid, and I think you can throw the finale in there too. That's half the episodes this season.
That's
more
like
than
how
half.
I feel too. I feel like half of these were just really, really solid. The other half are perfectly fine. They just didn't quite
What
work
about
as well
Slut
for me.
Dragons?
I don't think Slut Dragons work for anyone. At least not any of us three. Did anyone respond to our podcast saying, "No, I love the Slut Dragons"?
I think
so.
probably some people.
I don't think anyone did.
And it's not like, and even like obviously, I'm saying that and the child, there's still really funny stuff in there. Some places,
definitely funny like components.
Yeah. So I don't know. Look at it that way. And season 3 had some not as great ones too. I feel like so. And we brought back the mind blowers too in this finale. Like a lot of references to a lot of.
Well, and I think we always have to talk with Rick and Morty that the bar for Rick and Morty is so high that we're complaining about episodes that are great episodes, but they're just not amazing Rick and Morty episodes.
Yeah.
Because the thing is this show is just so consistently so good, and then we're like, oh, this episode was only good. It wasn't amazing. So
It
it's
did blow my mind.
Yeah, right? Because that was the thing, though. I definitely do agree that the stronger episodes are all stacked in the first part of the season. But I mean, you do get the Vat of Acid episode, which is incredible. But they were all good. I thoroughly enjoyed watching all of these episodes. Other than Slut Dragons, that episode didn't happen.
Yeah, they make fun of it too this season. They're like, "Oh, there's a timely Game of Thrones episode that we did."
Yeah, and then they were like, "Oh, you wanted a dragon?
yeah.
That's not an idea, Morty."
Yeah, so they're even referencing stuff. I gotta go back to that for a few more things, but within the 5-minute flashback, we get one of my favorite things is they flash back to earlier in this 5-minute sequence for an emotional beat, which is both hilarious and really sad and. That's the whole sequence. And then Jerry pressing the button casually to revert it all, I think is amazing too. And then just going that into Morty just desperately trying to recreate it. It's heartbreaking.
It doesn't work. And
I was sad. And I was like, why is this show making me sad?
I think the thing that really sold me about making that moment feel poignant was that he reaches a point where he finds the control and he has the thought you can see him thinking oh, should I just risk it now, and he doesn't It's like, no, I want to like stick this out with her. I think I've really built something here. I'm going to charge my phone instead and save us. And that's what makes it so sad when it all gets taken away. Because he was like actually fighting for it, even when he had an easier alternative. And that's when I was sold.
Yeah. One of the most emotional things the show. Here's if you haven't heard, this 5-minute sequence was not in the script. Very notable animation thing. The script was short. What's so crazy about that is like if you listen to the behind the scenes, this is like a last minute kind of addition to the season that just comes together really quick. The director Jacob Hare and his team constructed the 5-minute sequence with no script. So I feel like that's an insane animation feat.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Like it's like one of the highlights of the show, and they pulled it. They pulled it from nothing. Oh my god. I just the whole beginning, them spending so much time in the vat, and Morty's annoyance at Rick, and then Rick's indignance at that, and just it's just a great satirization of Rick's character. The fact that this is his big invention and this is what he cares about is the stupid vat. Because it's just such a stupid idea, and
it's so good.
I think that one's one I'm gonna revisit so much. But also the heist in different ways, and I think those are such different like the heist episode compared to that. It's like two very different episodes that the show's capable of that are really amazing. Same Old Man in the Seat. Like that, we could talk about Rick. Here's my quick analysis of Rick's arc. He is increasingly alienated from those around him.
Yes.
I think in The Old Man in the Seat, he like has this guy that he loses, and then he's like falling further from Morty, I guess, in a way. Like at the end of he's so depressed at the end of this episode because he was so terrible with the Beths, and also though just because Morty and Summer are bonding, and everyone leaves him to be alone in the garage.
Makes a lot of comments about lashing out, and in I think several episodes about I'm lashing out at Morty and all this stuff. So it's interesting. He's being reflective.
The problem is he's not taking the family therapy seriously.
Correct.
Those booby traps.
Yeah, that was a very funny moment when he's he says his line to activate it. Yeah.
and then she's like, "What is this about?"
Yeah, they brought Dr. Wong back. That's another recurrent.
Oh my god! And then he was like, "Everyone in the ship," and he's like, "My family, not you. Boundaries."
Yeah. There's really a lot of recurring things looking back on everything. And I think this Rick's depression, alienation has been an ongoing thing since season 2 of the show, and maybe they'll put this in the high gear. Maybe this is the type of thing that it's to just check in when they want to. But I don't think we can't anticipate anything culminating in anything. Is this leading anywhere? I don't know. I don't think so.
No, I mean this whole season has just been a season of trying to again taper expectations, which I think by the end of it they definitely succeeded in that. And now we don't know what to speculate on because it's what is there left to evil Morty, clone Beth, bird person, I guess, but there's no guarantees we'll see them anytime soon. So it's just kind of we don't know. We legitimately don't know anymore.
Well, Rick, I feel we've seen Rick get to his highest point, and then Jerry comes back, and then and then now he's worse off than he was before. So I think it's interesting to are we going to see a more of a spiral or? Yeah,
that's a good point. So
I really wish we would because again,
Michelle's suffer.
Well, no, but okay, I thought a lot about the end of episode 10 versus the end of episode 2, The Old Man in the Seat, and I was a little ticked off that they felt similar, but The Old Man in the Seat just felt it resonated so much stronger, and I feel part of the thing is even though his family is more actively dismissing him or not listening to him and kind of just choosing to do their own thing, which they should be because Rick's not great. Rick still in episode 10 at least he never I was so excited when Beth was going to come back and tell him off, but he still always manages to one up her and put her in a place, even if it's subtle. You can tell he's still kind of above her. She'll never be at his level, and the fact that she's still so wrapped up on either destroying him or proving to him something about herself. Like, she's still so wrapped up on, like, what he thinks of her, which is, like, the biggest mistake. Like, I really hope she, like, at the end of the season, it does seem like they're both the best are moving forward, like, claiming to not care anymore about what he thinks. I don't know if that's true, because it's never not been true for either of them. So that's, like, a little of my reservations. Like, I feel like they've, like, touched on stuff with Rick, and they've really, like, had moments of really showing how depressed and sad he is, being this kind of person all the time. But they still seem very reluctant to let go of this, like, super cool genius that's an asshole, but kind of like you admire that because he always has the best one-liners and he always kind of is the one who wins, and that's attractive. Like, until they're willing to really let go of some of that and to dive deeper into this aspect of himself that's a lot more negative, it feels like a little frustrating to me. Like, they can do what they want, they can go wherever they want with this, but like, at this point, like, I feel like we need more than just Rick sitting somewhere sad with the, like, musical score telling us to feel sadder for him than I, like, care to at this point. Because, like, not a lot's really changed yet. And I want to see more change, like, for it to matter, you know? I don't think Rick can keep being sympathetic and, like, kind of weirdly portrayed as cool at the same time. I think you gotta decide, like, which part of the cake you want, because you can't keep having both. Like, that's not going to be satisfying forever.
Yeah, I don't think the show would let go of the kind of main premise of Rick's character. But that is certainly like something fair to want from the show, to do like a building actual thing with Rick and like change his character. I feel like their version of this might be you do bring in some of more of these moments like we saw in 2 and 10, and then you have a big Rick depression episode. Like, you actually get into like the psychology of Rick in a whole episode. Like, you spend a whole episode on it. That could be a big changing moment, I think, for the show if we actually put some time into it. Maybe it doesn't have to completely change his character premise. But I think that's like certainly a good thing to want from the show, and I don't think the show has necessarily shown that it is wanting to dive deeper than it currently is.
Yeah, that's the thing, because like at the end of last season, right? Like, that's when Beth like made like so many things happen. That's like, I would consider that like Rick's lowest point with the family, and now it's kind of it just kind of is the same.
Yeah,
as it used to be. So I don't know.
End of last season is Rick loses control of the family because Jerry comes back. This season, does Rick lose further control of the family because there's 2 Beths and no one is caring about him? Like, I think that might be what they're going for. I guess we'll see next season.
And he doesn't have that control over Beth anymore, like where he was kind of like lording the whole, like, kind of not withholding love and stuff.
Yeah, so I think like we might be going further into that. I think the Beth thing this episode, there's some really interesting Rick characterization through Beth. I love the contrast of them sitting at the Shoney's, because another recurring element, and they're like Rick's like, you're in your hero phase, and she's like, I'll never stop giving a shit. Like, I think like we are kind of getting into like where Rick is through where this Beth is, who is following his trajectory a little bit. And if both Beths are around, that's a natural thing I think to explore, is like how did Rick end up in the place he is, and how are the Beths going to deal with that? How is Rick going to deal with that, knowing that Beth is one of the best, is that Beths is there in such a different place than him. We just see like the space Beth as kind of this contrast to Rick in some different ways. I thought that was it was a little subtle in the episode, but something they could maybe expand on more next season. I think that would be really interesting.
It would be interesting. I feel like there are no guarantees that any of that's
no guarantees.
And that's just like why like I want to be that excited, but I just like I don't know anymore. Like, I feel like season 5 is going to determine a lot more. Because again, like, this was a foundational setting season, but season 5 either is going to build on that or go somewhere slightly different. But until then, I'm just like, I got my questions. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Like we said, there's all these things they could do, or they could do nothing, and Space Beth could be gone.
Or they could always do nothing. There's always
and they could
that.
go reset completely and go back to, So, I mean, at least Tammy's probably, I mean, the thing is there could be alternate dimension Tammy. So, like, really nothing is a thing that happened on the show. You could just go into a different
That's
timeline.
True. And that's like exciting in some ways. It's just like also hard in other ways, just to have any expectation.
I think so. Yeah, I think it makes it. It's both. It's like the most unique. I think I've heard one of the writers call it like a very unique feature of Rick and Morty is having all the multiverse and the different timelines and stuff. And it's like both like this really smart aspect of the show, and it probably makes things really hard to write. I mean, look at Vat of Acid episode. They have to go through painstaking lengths to explain what's happening, kind of at the end of that episode. I mean, what's all the? I feel like I'm always thinking about like how do all the Ricks come into play in anything that's happening? And usually they don't. But I mean, that I guess that would be the Citadel of Ricks reference to Never Rick and Morty. Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to see what happens in season 5. Whether any of these things we're talking about come back, I assume some of them will. Also, like I think we'll see sooner. I think that's going to be really exciting. I think hopefully they continue producing them on similar timelines. I mean, the crew is changing a lot. But I would guess like November of this year for next season, which is like
really?
That's pretty soon. Yeah.
I know they're definitely done writing, and I think they've already done a lot of pre-production as well. Like I think it's got to be sooner. Last thing, like I brought this up, but I never is there an answer to like is season 4? Is this the worst season of Rick and Morty? Is it the best season of Rick and Morty? Is there no like I don't even know what the best season of Rick and Morty is. I think we said it was season 3 last season.
Yeah.
But is season 3 much better than season 1? Probably not. Season 1's very good too. Season 2 is very good.
It's hard to.
That's the problem.
Well, it depends on the metric. Like I think there's kind of like 3 different episodes of Rick and Morty. There's like really good science fiction episodes that are like just too absurdity. There's like the laugh out loud the whole episode just makes you want to die the whole time because it's so funny. And then like plot heavy episodes which are like really good on their own. But the thing is, like, all 3 of these aspects are, like, in all of the episodes sometimes. So you're like, I don't know. So, like, it's kind of, I think it's one of those, like, it honestly, like, Rick and Morty is such, like, a subjective show, I feel like.
Yeah. I'm looking back on some of these earlier episodes. I think the average episode quality has gone up since 1 and 2.
Definitely. Which I think is why season 3 is so consistent. Like, that's why it's just, like, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Everything up till the very end of the finale was just so great. But looking back now, that finale makes so much more sense. Like in light, it was just at the time it felt like such whiplash.
I think this season's better than last season's finale.
The only blemish on season 4 is slut dragons. That's it. And I think
we can't talk about them anymore. I need to forget though.
We'll never
They're so exciting to exist at all.
I feel like there's an argument this is the best season. Looking at the episodes, honestly,
I think so.
I think the top 8 of this season, I think, are better than the top 8 of any other season, if you want to look at it like that.
And also, like, consistency, like slut dragons,
I think despite any inclinations you might want to say of Rick and Morty's lost a step, which is a natural thing to try to want to say when there's 60 more episodes to come. We're kind of on this like heavy batch of episodes, like kind of trend that we're going to be on. I really feel like the consistency is still there. So I think that's a really encouraging thing for the future of the show. Although, yeah, I would like to see a Ricklantis mix up or a total recall, which I feel like a few of these episodes this season were close. But we'll see. Delaney, any parting thoughts to season 4?
I really enjoyed it. Like I think that maybe season 4 is the best to me just because it's so consistently like really good. Like I really enjoyed a lot of these episodes, and I'm not like I really enjoyed the season finale, but I'm not like obviously I'm excited for Rick and Morty, but it's not leaving me wanting. If that makes sense.
Yeah. You're not you're excited for things, but you're not like I gotta have them. I know they're coming. Like yeah. Like we understand what the show is saying is what's happening now. Yeah, Michelle, final thoughts on season 4?
As a whole, I really enjoyed it. I think this season, once I was more able to, and I'm still trying to like let go of the plot expectations just because like that was such a high point of the season right before it. But there were a lot of episodes this season that just like it was fun to revel in their absurdity. And that's like just a really fun experience to have every week for a while, you know? I can't say like I don't want a little more plot stuff, but I also am like starting to trust again. Like if we do see stuff, like I just hope like it's done in a way that makes sense and it feels satisfying. That's all I want, you know? But if we don't have that for a while, all these other like chiller episodes that are just really, really funny, like I will hands down take those in the meantime. Because they're very well made. Like they're very good.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's going to be interesting how we grapple with with this new dynamic of the show and them doing things while also most of the time doing nothing. Like we brought up some interesting possibilities for season 5 that they could get into. So we'll see if we do any of that when season 5 comes out. And I realize I said November, and that's actually only 5 months away at this point, which is I kind of didn't understand.
That would be soon. That's what immediately we're like, oh wow, November.
Yeah, I still think it's sooner side. But yeah, it's June. That's interesting. I think this is a good season. I don't know. They'll probably do that split 5-5 thing again. I think that's their way of getting the episodes sooner out because they end up working on a few of them for a while. But I don't know. The 5-5 thing, I feel like it hurts it in a certain aspect, but it is also nice to not have to wait forever for episodes. But especially if we, one thing biggest thing is hoping for Space Beth to still be there at some point when season.
Yes, I just like. I mean, as a lesbian, the two moms thing, great, good stuff.
Yes.
Like
and
not
that each other.
I know, not
and
obviously.
Then Jerry's also there.
Yeah, no, we're not talking about Jerry. He's not there.
No Jerry, no slut dragons.
But like, I just like the kids being like, two moms is awesome. Like, I just great. It's good
They're
stuff.
into it, yeah.
Also, I noticed normally it doesn't matter as much, but I feel like there's a lot more like same-sex stuff going on this season than in like just background random stuff.
Yeah, there are two guards this season this episode which had male voices. Yeah, and then they had the two face huggers. That was a big thing.
That was one of my highlights of that episode. I was just like, this is
That's
bizarre hearing Rick and Morty's voices coming out of them, but like, yes, I support their gay alien romance with each other. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, nothing we would say is. I guess that was the most progressive thing the show's done, but in terms of queer representation.
But I don't think any of us go to Rick and Morty as like.
It's just like, wow, that was there. That's all.
Yeah, just like, oh, that's.
There's more casual stuff.
Nice
Yeah,
surprise.
I think so. So that is nice too. Maybe expand on that a little more, but it's Rick and Morty, so.
I will say, like, now that we're approaching season 5, I feel like I do want to see more of Beth and Summer stuff, like maybe even outside of Rick and Morty as characters, specifically outside of Rick. I think we've earned that. Like, again, we've had 4 seasons of the show. Season 1 and 2, like, especially focused a lot on just Rick and Morty, which is fine, but we have this whole cast that has, like, been a lot more fleshed out, not nearly enough, I'd say, in comparison to the main leads. But, like, I know the show's called Rick and Morty, but, like, clearly it's not the same show anymore in that like aspect, and I just want them to start having things to do that aren't necessarily directly related to Rick, because if everything's always about Rick, like, it's just gonna make me a little frustrated, you know?
Yeah, I think this season took a step back from Summer and Beth. I think they were purposefully placed prominently in season 3, and the season reverted on that for the most part. But now Beth is in the spotlight again at the end of the season, so it'll be interesting to see how that carries over, if at all, to season 5. Summer, I don't know, like, do we have any movement with Summer being back to being a main character? She was a main character for most of season 3. She definitely wasn't this season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't
know. I think we focused a lot on the Rick and Morty dynamic this season, which was valuable, but it'd be nice to also focus on the Summer dynamic with each of them. I think that's something that season 5 could definitely get into. And then Beth, I think, is tied into the plot now in a way that Summer is, and so Beth is more begging to be addressed by the season. That'll be interesting to see too, because that was part of the reverting to season 1 is stepping back on Summer and Beth's characters a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot we're interested to see what's going to happen in season 5. So, hoping it'll be sooner, and we'll be back to talk about season 5 in whatever capacity once it comes out. So let us know what you thought of season 4 B and season 4 of Rick and Morty at overlyanimated.com, youtube.com/overlyanimated, and our Discord is overlyanimated.com/Discord. Consider supporting us, patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Bronwyn. And thanks as always to our patron executive producers, Ryan, Steve, Alex, Beatriz, Hugh, Michael, Needle, and Phonician. Check out all our other coverage at overlyanimated.com. I know I threw a Solar Opposites review in the Rick and Morty feed. That's another prominent, that's from the Rick and Morty people making that show. We'll be checking in on that one that comes out too. And any other Rick and Morty type shows. BoJack ended. I don't know what the other Rick and Morty type shows are that are, they're coming out. So follow out any of that at overlyanimated.com. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.